Okay, so let's unpack this. You know the trucking industry is always moving, quite literally, but right now it feels like there's a massive amount happening all at once. We're seeing big policy shifts coming out of Washington, cutting-edge technology hitting the road, and frankly, a lot of confusing information to navigate.
That's absolutely right. And we've got a stack of sources here, recent articles and insights covering, proposed rule changes from the Department of Transportation, real-world tech deployments by major fleets, and some really valuable resources specifically for drivers looking to stay ahead.
Yeah, and our mission in this deep dive is to, well, cut through all that noise. We want to pull out the essential nuggets, look at these complex shifts from every angle, because seeing different viewpoints is so crucial in this business, right?
Yep.
Like the folks at Life as a Trucker always emphasize
Sure.
and figure out what they really mean for you, the driver, day to day and, long term.
We'll break it down, focus on the practical impact, and hopefully uncover a few surprising facts to keep it, well, interesting.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. And the biggest thing making headlines on the policy front lately seems to be coming out of the DOT.
Oh, yes. The regulatory roller coaster is definitely picking up speed. The Department of Transportation is embarking on what some sources are calling a deregulation blitz. Their stated goal is ambitious: to cut over 50 rules across agencies like the FMCSA, that's the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and the FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration.
50 rules. Wow, that sounds like a massive amount of red tape getting snipped.
That's the intention, supposedly to make things simpler. Some specific rules they're targeting include potentially removing the federal requirement to carry a printed copy of your ELD manual. Rear impact guard labels on trailers could become optional federally. And they're looking at rescinding retro-reflective sheeting requirements for older trailers, specifically those made before 1993. Operating under the assumption that, well, most of those pre-93 trailers are off the road by now.
Okay, less paper, maybe fewer stickers. On the surface, that sounds like it should make things simpler.
Hmm. And that's where it gets really interesting. And also where compliance experts and safety advocates are sounding some pretty loud alarm bells. They warn this isn't necessarily simplifying things, it's actually creating compliance confusion.
Compliance confusion. How can cutting rules make things more confusing? That seems backwards.
Well, because the changes aren't always absolute or, clearly communicated, let's take that ELD manual example. Even if you don't need the physical manual, you still must have access to malfunction procedures and data transfer instructions. The sources don't always clarify the approved digital access method, leaving drivers potentially fumbling in a critical situation.
Right, right. Just because you don't need the book doesn't mean you don't need the information. Got it.
Exactly. And then you have the layer cake of federal versus state rules. Federally, they might rescind a rule, like the requirement to return certain state-level inspection forms, but your specific state might still have that return requirement on their books.
Oh, wow. So picture this. A driver gets inspected in a state that does require returning that form, but they've only followed the new federal rule and simply tossed it. That could immediately lead to a violation, even though they thought they were legal under DC's guidance. That sounds like a real legal minefield, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. You could technically follow the new federal rule, but still be non-compliant with the state or even another federal agency's rule, like those rear guard labels.
Yeah.
FMCSA might make the federal rule optional, but NHTSA's underlying safety standard and sticker rules could still apply. Sources point out a worn or missing label could still trip you up in a crash investigation or a thorough inspection. It's far from a simple, just ignore the old rule.
That ambiguity must make it incredibly difficult for drivers just trying to do the right thing and stay legal. Just navigate day to day.
It does. And this compliance uncertainty is just one piece of the puzzle in bigger regulatory shifts expected to take shape through 2025. Clean truck rules, particularly California's Advanced Clean Fleets rule requiring zero-emission trucks, or ZEVs, for drayage and heavy-duty vehicles by 2036. Well, they're on thin ice, according to sources. The state even withdrew its waiver application with the EPA, and there's significant talk that a potential new administration could keep that rule parked indefinitely.
And I think I heard there's even a potential bill in Congress aimed specifically at blocking California's stricter rules. Is that right?
Yes, sources mention the possibility of a bill that would directly block California's ability to set emission standards more stringent than the federal level by, reclaiming federal authority and pulling California's long-held EPA waiver. This creates a real legal tug-of-war, especially for drivers operating in or through California. It makes long-term planning incredibly difficult for fleets and owner-operators.
Yeah, I bet. Do you invest in expensive, cleaner technology now, or do you ride the diesel wave betting that these rules will be delayed or overturned? Tough call.
Exactly.
What about other big federal regulations like emission standards or speed limiters? What's the word there?
Well, the EPA's Phase 3 greenhouse gas emissions standards deadlines are also likely to be pushed out, according to sources, and the long-discussed federal mandates for speed limiters. Sources indicate those are effectively dead in the water under the current political climate. We might also see fewer restrictions coming for independent contractor and later rules, depending on future administrative changes.
Okay. So we're clearly seeing different perspectives on all these changes. Who's cheering and who's concerned?
Well, on one side, you have industry groups like large fleets and the American Trucking Associations, ATA. They're generally welcoming this rollback. They see it as less paperwork, delayed costs for expensive upgrades, and potentially cheaper new trucks in the short term.
Makes sense from their perspective.
Then you have environmental advocates, naturally, who are concerned about slowing down progress toward emissions reduction targets.
And safety groups. They must have strong feelings about regulations being cut, especially things like speed limiters.
Oh, they are quite vocal, and sources highlight their deep concerns. Groups like the Truck Safety Coalition are deeply concerned, stating these rules are being rushed without solid proof that safety won't be compromised. They specifically point back to removing the ELD manual requirement, worrying drivers won't easily access critical malfunction procedures, and the assumption about older trailers being gone without verifying it first, meaning some pre-93 trailers might still be on the road without required reflective sheeting. And yes, they are very worried about the speed limiter mandates being dropped, seeing it as a step backward for safety.
So pulling all of this together, this messy, kind of conflicting regulatory landscape, what does it really mean for you, the driver out there trying to make a living?
It means compliance just got significantly more complicated.
Mhm.
You can't just rely on one simple federal rulebook anymore. You need to track federal standards, your specific state requirements, and rules from related agencies like NHTSA. It requires you to be proactive, audit your own policies, and be meticulous about documenting everything. Because the line between what's federally legal and what's actually safe and legal across all jurisdictions, well, it's widening.
And sounds like it creates major headaches for long-term planning, especially around buying equipment or upgrading your rig, that investment decision we talked about.
Absolutely. It makes deciding whether to invest in newer technology or stick with traditional diesel a real gamble. And adding to the cost pressures, sources point out that while some upgrade costs might be delayed, other costs are climbing. Tariffs, specifically mentioning 25% on light vehicles, 10% on Canadian energy, and parts taxes in place since spring 2025, are directly making essential truck parts, steel, electronics, and drivetrains more expensive.
Ouch. So your maintenance costs for repairs are likely going up regardless.
Seems likely, yeah.
It's a lot to navigate, and it really highlights how external forces like these policy debates in Washington directly impact your ability to do your job and plan for the future. And it's important to remember, we're just reporting what the sources say about these policies and the different viewpoints around them. The DOT's goal to cut red tape, the potential bill on California rules, and the FMCSA reportedly dropping DEI and climate goals from GRAT requirements, which they state is to solely focus on safety and efficiency. Critics, as reported, raise concerns about safety risks, increased confusion, and potential negative impacts on climate and underserved groups. We're just showing you the picture the sources paint from all sides.
Precisely. It underscores the importance of staying informed, but also recognizing the instability created by these shifting sands.
Okay, let's shift gears entirely from the regulatory maze to something concrete that's actually happening on trucks and on the roads right now. Because technology isn't just theoretical talk anymore. Some fleets are truly scaling it up.
That's a critical distinction. While policy debates churn, companies like GP Transco are making significant investments in proven tech. They recently announced they are installing solar panels on their entire fleet of 600 trucks.
Solar panels on every truck. Wow, that's a serious commitment. What kind of results did they see to make that kind of fleet-wide decision? Must have been pretty good.
Yeah, they ran a successful test first, and the results were compelling. Drivers using the solar-equipped trucks saw a dramatic reduction in idle time, from over 4 hours a night down to less than 1 hour. That translates directly to real fuel savings, estimated at a significant $1,700 annually per truck.
Wow.
Plus, the solar power helps keep the electric power units charged, improving battery life and reducing maintenance demands.
Okay, $1,700 a year. That's not just about being green. That's a solid operational efficiency gain that directly impacts the bottom line and makes the driver's life a bit easier with less noisy idling, maybe better rested.
Absolutely. It's practical tech with practical benefits. And they're not stopping there. GP Transco is also heavily leveraging AI telematics within their internal system, which they call Open Road.
AI in the dispatch system.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that actually do for a driver on a day-to-day basis? Does it, like, make the decisions for them? Is that the fear?
Well, the source is presented as a tool to make dispatching and planning smarter and more efficient, not replace the driver's role. They use tools like an eat-a-host simulator. This system predicts arrival times based on your available hours of service, real-time traffic, and even weather forecasts. The idea is to give drivers more accurate expectations, reduce stress from rushing, and minimize missed appointments.
Okay.
They also have a load and driver recommender that helps dispatchers better pair drivers with loads that align with their available hours, specific skill sets like hazmat or doubles, and even preferences.
Okay, so less deadhead, potentially better matched loads, maybe higher earnings per hour by being more efficient. That sounds pretty good.
That's the stated goal, yeah. It's about using technology to optimize the workflow, reduce potential human error in load assignment, and improve the driver's experience by making their routes and schedules more predictable and potentially more profitable per hour spent driving. It's tech designed to support, not replace. That's the key message.
Right. And beyond individual trucks, we're also seeing infrastructure being built specifically with heavy-duty electric vehicles in mind. That's a big step, too.
Yes, and this is a major step. Green Lane, which is a joint venture, is building what they're calling the first ever EV charging corridor specifically designed for big rigs between Los Angeles and Las Vegas on I-15.
LA to Vegas on I-15.
That's a huge freight artery. So how is this corridor different? Like, how is it designed for trucks specifically?
That's the key. It's purpose-built for Class 6 to 8 heavy-duty trucks. The charging stations are strategically spaced every 60 to 90 miles along the approximately 280-mile route, with stops planned in key locations like Colton, Barstow, and Baker. And unlike passenger car chargers, these feature things like pull-through charging bays so you don't have to unhook. Pull through. So you literally just drive up, plug in, and you don't even have to unhook the trailer. That's a serious time saver compared to trying to back a rig into a tight charging spot. Huge.
Exactly. It's designed with the driver's needs and operational realities in mind. Dedicated bobtail spots, too. Restrooms, ample truck parking, driver lounges. They're even designed with future hydrogen refueling capacity in mind.
Okay, thinking ahead.
And the charging speed is significant, too, with some stations pushing 400 kilowatt fast charging speeds, which is crucial for minimizing downtime. What's fascinating here is that Green Lane isn't just guessing where to build. They're using fleet telematics data to map demand and driver patterns to place these stations where they'll be most useful. The sources say construction is underway, with the Colton site already going vertical. This isn't just a concept, it's becoming a physical reality.
Okay, so looking at these tech developments, the solar, the AI, these dedicated EV corridors, what are the different angles on this? Who likes it? Who's maybe worried?
Well, you've got pro-environment folks who are excited seeing real progress on emissions reduction. Tech-forward fleets like GP Transco have proof that these technologies can save money and potentially improve driver satisfaction and retention.
Right, the bottom line and driver happiness.
Then you have maybe old-school skeptics who might be cautious about the talk of automation. But as we discussed, the AI tools here are presented as aiding dispatch, not replacing the driver.
Okay.
Maintenance crews clearly see the need for new training and tools for these electric vehicles. That's a big shift for them. Owner-operators are watching the upfront costs and range limitations closely, but the prospect of reliable and affordable charging could definitely shift perceptions over time.
Makes sense.
And regulators see corridors like Green Lane as vital pilot projects to demonstrate the feasibility of achieving national zero-emission goals. So lots of different viewpoints.
But boiling it down again.
Yeah.
What does this mean for you, driving down the road today or thinking about the future?
We'll expect to see more of this technology integrated into the industry. On the truck you're driving, you might see fewer breakdowns related to batteries thanks to things like solar, more efficient routes planned for you via AI, and potentially faster charging options if you're in an EV. On the infrastructure side, dedicated corridors mean less range anxiety and charging facilities actually designed for your needs, which is huge. It's a very clear signal that the industry is evolving rapidly, and your ability to adapt your mindset and potentially your skills is going to be increasingly key.
And that brings us perfectly to the third crucial part of our deep dive thinking about planning your road ahead, not just the next load, but your whole career path.
Right. We've talked about the volatile freight rates, the economic ups and downs, all the external pressures that can cause significant, well, pain and suffering for truckers out there sometimes. It can feel like you're constantly reacting to forces outside your control.
Yeah, and this is where the insights from sources like Life as a Trucker and Retire from Trucking really resonate with the bigger picture we're seeing. The regulatory uncertainty, the rapid tech adoption, the economic instability. Hervey from Life as a Trucker makes a powerful point about seeing issues from all angles, yes, but just as importantly, managing your time. Not just managing it for shippers or your company, but managing it intentionally for yourself, using that off-duty time wisely.
hmm And what's fascinating here is their core message is about helping you get out on your terms and creating a kind of shield against the industry's inherent instability.
A shield, okay, I like the sound of that. How do they propose building that kind of protection?
Well, the key solution presented in the sources is focused on training as many truckers as possible on how to use AI to create additional extra streams of income. The idea is that this provides reliable, recurring monthly income, acting as a crucial buffer against those unpredictable dips in freight rates, unexpected downtime, or broader economic slowdowns.
That makes perfect sense. Diversifying your income in a volatile industry like trucking would add a huge layer of stability. Take some pressure off, maybe.
Exactly. And it's framed not just as a buffer, but as a way to regain control. It helps you build towards retiring when you are ready to retire on your timeline, rather than feeling potentially forced out by market conditions or health issues. It also offers significant protection, or at least softens the blow dramatically, if your trucking company were to, unfortunately, cease to exist. It's about building your own safety net.
That's really powerful. So where can drivers find resources for this kind of training and planning? How do they learn this stuff?
The sources point to lifeasatrucker.com, which has a long history since 2008 helping people get into trucking, and is now strongly focused on helping you manage your career and get out on your terms. They specifically mention retirefromtrucking.com as a sister site. This site offers a free guide to help truckers prepare for retirement, and more importantly, provides specific training on leveraging AI tools for creating those online income streams. Tasks like generating online content, managing simple digital services, things you can actually do using your off-duty time.
Okay, so practical skills you can learn. And there's also a community aspect mentioned, which is so important in this industry, right? Feeling connected.
Yes, definitely. YouTubeTruckers.com is highlighted as a valuable place for community. It's described as a kind of digital truck stop run by drivers, offering real talk, driver pick videos, news tools, and a way to connect with other drivers specifically by state. It sounds like a place for support, shared experience, and finding other truckers navigating these same changes. You're not alone in this.
Connecting this back to you, the listener. When you look at the regulatory uncertainty, the rapid technological shifts, the economic pressures, having a plan B, having additional income streams, actively managing your time for yourself to build new skills, that gives you significantly more control over your own life and future. It empowers you in an industry that can often feel like you're just reacting to external forces all the time.
It shifts the focus from feeling like a cog in the machine to actively building stability and security for yourself. This approach truly feels like it's about making drivers feel respected and supported by empowering them to take the steering wheel of their own future.
So, to quickly recap our deep dive today, we saw that regulations are changing fast, often in confusing ways that create compliance and planning challenges. Big time.
Yep.
We also saw that technology is rapidly moving from concept to reality on trucks and in crucial infrastructure like EV corridors, bringing efficiency but requiring adaptation.
And the most important nugget to take away from all of this, the thread that connects these changes back to your life, is that in this complex, rapidly shifting environment, your ability to adapt and, crucially, to plan for yourself is absolutely essential. Managing your time not just for the job and the shippers, but for your own development and building future income streams is key to gaining control.
Right. Being well informed about these changes and actively utilizing resources like lifeasatrucker.com and retirefromtrucking.com to learn about leveraging AI, building online income, and planning your future on your terms. That can make a profound difference in navigating these shifts and feeling more secure.
It's about proactively building your own opportunities, not just waiting to see what happens next.
Which leaves us with a provocative thought for you to consider as you go about your day. With all these powerful external forces shaping the trucking world, regulators in Washington, tech companies building new systems, the unpredictable economy who ultimately holds the steering wheel for your future, is it primarily determined by the next policy change or technological leap? Or is it ultimately determined by the steps you choose to take today to prepare, build your own opportunities, and gain control over your own road ahead?
Something worth thinking about. Definitely